program, the Chief Executive of the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Peter Anderson. Good morning, Mr. Anderson.
Good morning, Paul.
Well, certainly a strong endorsement from Tony Abbott there for the Chamber. Do you endorse his direct action plan quite as strongly?
Well, it's always nice to receive a compliment, whether it's the one this week or the one we got from Wayne Swan during the financial crisis when we helped the government work up an investment allowance to support the economy. Look, the key issue here is that our politicians need to calibrate our action on climate change with international action. And I'm very apprehensive today with the government about to make its announcement, but I've also indicated that we need to put the opposition's policy framework through exactly the same rigour, because a direct action approach can have some beneficial aspects, but it can also add to regulatory cost. And we need, at the current moment, to make sure that both alternatives that our politicians and political parties are putting forward are actually subject to the detailed rigour that's necessary.
We seem to be going to get a mixture of both, at least from the government, direct action leading to a market mechanism and an ETS in 3 years. I suppose that would be more to the inclination of ACCI, would it not, a market mechanism?
Well, a market mechanism that's calibrated to international action has some beneficial aspects, but we need a global carbon price if there's going to be an effective global trading scheme. Australia acting unilaterally puts our country in a very risky situation. The government today is playing with fire, and the fire is not just the government's interest, but it is actually the competitiveness and the cost structure of the thousands of people that I represent, not the big polluters, the small and medium business people, the business owners who have set up businesses in our country to try and make our country a better place. And the government is really playing with their interests today, and I'm very apprehensive about the potential to embed costs into doing business.
Peter Anderson, lots of talk about the big advertising campaign that you certainly were, I think, supposed to be part of. Be specific for us. What role is ACCI playing in the advertising? How much money are you spending, and when will we see all of these ads?
Well, no, in one sense, the last thing I'd want to have to do is to be spending more time and effort on advocacy and advertising. We have to see what the government announces today. But what is absolutely critical is that the business community does not lose its voice on this matter. We are moving into a new phase now where, having worked on the inside of this debate, the government's going to make some very important announcements.
Is the $10 million campaign on, Mr. Anderson? Is it happening?
Well, we'll wait and see what the government's announcement is, but my view is that we need to use every available mechanism to give voice to the people that I represent, the people who are looking at today's announcement and wondering if they are actually being heard.
Good morning.
And if that takes advertising, then so be it.
Good morning, Peter. Well, we've seen the opposition leader effectively hijack your support, you said on the front pages. Has this made you gun-shy away into this debate? And you say you're apprehensive about elements of the carbon tax, and then you say that you'll wait to see the detail. What positives have you taken out? The government's put a lot of the information out there on the carbon tax. Is there anything you can see that's in it for ACCI at the moment?
Well, no, the government's certainly making a serious effort to try and come up with a package. But the problem at the heart of this is that the government's package, even on what we have read in the last few days, is sending very mixed messages. At one point, the government is introducing a significant new cost through a tax onto our economic production, and yet the government is then saying that we're going to effectively protect and try and insulate our economy from government's own policy. And at the heart of that conundrum is the fact that we are moving in the absence of a binding global agreement, and that's why today's announcement really does present massive difficulties, not just in terms of the government explaining its message, but also for my members and the businesses they operate.
Thank you very much for being with us today, Mr. Peter Anderson from the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry.